What's up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a different type of video for channel. I am going to be breaking down the newest movie I saw this week, which was Spider-Man Brand New Day. Now, spoilers in advance if you guys do not want to be spoiled, but if you guys have seen it or are not worried about spoilers, then continue on listening, ladies and gentlemen. So, where to begin? So the events take place right after Spider-Man No Way Home, after Doctor Strange casts the spell to have people forget who Spider-Man is. Um, so overall, I would give this new Spider-Man movie a solid 8 to upper 8 out of 10. Um, I saw it with a friend, and he and I had some predictions for the movie. So honestly, I cannot wait for Doomsday. Now let me break down the movie overall. So first off, so we see that Peter Parker, Spider-Man, is literally cleaning up New York City. He goes around fighting all crime syndicates, and on top of that, ladies and gentlemen, we get more hints at the Sinister Six, as well as other major Spider-Man villains. So that was pretty cool to see. Definitely got me excited. Later on, sorry if I say my brain's just so tired today too. So the uh, so we realize that Spider-Man's working for the New York Police Department, technically, you could say that, while also going to ESU, or Empire State University in New York, while Mary Jane and Ned, I almost called him Ted, oh my gosh. Well, Ned are off at MIT, and there's a time lapse of Peter literally watching MJ and Ned go through their college together while Peter's off saving the city and stuff. Um Now, after the whole monologue and watching them go through the time lapse, one thing I did notice is it felt like they were trying to give us an idea of what Peter had sacrificed in order to, well, show us what Peter was sacrificing because of the spell. I enjoyed it overall in the long run. Like, it definitely pulls on your heartstrings when you see that Peter's literally wanting to be with MJ, and he's missing his buddy Ned. So, yep. Um, Now here's where things get really interesting. So, one day Peter gets called out to um, deal with a runaway tank, and it's the Department of Damage Control. Now, those of you who do not remember Department of Damage Control, they showed up in the very first Spider-Man movie, right after the Battle of New York, when they are dealing with the Tombs crew and saying, you're not allowed here anymore and stuff. They've been in the background like a shadowy organization, kind of like Hydra in a way. Now, the main villain, I have to correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but after realizing that, well, hold on a sec, I'm getting too far ahead of myself. So after Spider-Man saves the tank, which does crash into the Department of Damage's holding facility where Falcon's being held. Not Vulture. Sorry, why do I get Falcon and Vulture stuck, twisted around? Sorry about that. So after Spider-Man rips open the tank, you see that there's a little old lady there, and that little old lady is being possessed. Now, here's where things get interesting. The possession body jumps a total of 30 feet. Like, that's the tether limit for the person. So, pretty interesting that they have a tether limit of 30 feet, and you learn about that later on in the movie. And the person doing the possession is Jean Grey. That is right, ladies and gentlemen. The X-Men mutant Jean Grey. When when I found out that was Jean Grey, I was losing my mind. It's like I knew the actor is going to be in Doomsday and stuff in December, but the fact that she's in the Spider-Man movie was absolutely wild. Like I was losing my marbles. Um, so there, so oh wait, back up to Peter dealing with the tank. Um, so Frank Castle, aka the Punisher, is literally trying to stop the tank as well, but Peter literally slingshots him out of the battle van and onto the pavement, and I'm just laughing my butt off at how comedic that Peter literally takes out one of the toughest gun wielding mercenaries in the Marvel universe. Like that was wild to see. So yeah, and sorry. So overall, fast forward, Peter starts having these nasty headaches, and went with Scorpion escape, but yeah, Scorpion has escaped. Why did I think it was Vulture? Sorry. So in this one, Peter's fighting Scorpion a lot. Well, eventually, um, I think it's after or before the party in the movie. So Peter gets a alert saying they found Scorpion. Well, Peter beats the living snot out of Scorpion. Like during the fight, his eyes goes black, which is honestly pretty interesting. And I thought for sure we were about to see Peter mutate into his hideous spider self from the 90s animated show. Like I was really expecting that. Um, but overall, um, it just put Peter's power level onto a little bit of a more buffed side, and I was just like, oh my gosh, okay, we've got to deal with him fast, and we got to deal with him now. So overall, well, then when so afterwards, Peter realizes the mind control has to be from someone, and the person's like, "Oh, you can't see me anymore for some reason now," and stuff. And that was honestly interesting. It's like maybe it was a universal ability Peter had, but his evolution was just showing him he had the power to see something like that. Like I think from the Spider-Man universe, the I forget what it's called, but Madam Web was able to pull Spider-Man through and stuff, and they could see things. Like maybe that was the ability that they were trying to showcase and stuff. I'm not entirely sure, but either which way, Peter he finds out that Jean Grey was literally inside his apartment and knew exactly who he was and stuff, and he starts freaking out. Like she's like, "I'm going to come after MJ and Ned and stuff," and with the mutation and stuff, Peter does go to Bruce Banner, and yes, that is the I forget what universe this one is going to be in for Brand New Day. Like maybe it's the same universe, maybe it's an alternate universe, but either which way, it was interesting seeing how Peter and Bruce were talking about genetics and um, and about technology to suppress certain traits and aspects. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I do have something about that I want to go into depth in a second. So, Bruce shows him the inhibitor he has to keep the Hulk under control. And Peter works on a inhibitor of his own. Now that's interesting because with the introduction of Jean Grey and stuff and inhibitors and Deadpool and stuff being in the MCU officially, I believe now, it has me thinking, like, are we about to see well, we know we'll see Sentinels in Doomsday, but like, is this just potentially pushing us more towards Sentinels in that universe? Like, inhibitors have been around for a while in the MCU, but I'm curious to see if it might impact the future of the MCU after Doomsday and stuff, since we'll be going into the X-Men saga, so just gotta wait and see what happens. So after Peter realizes that the person, aka Jean Grey, is going after MJ, he goes racing after her. There's a chase scene. Overall, and he gets to MJ fast, but not really fast enough. Because what ends up happening is Jean Grey takes the body of MJ and possesses it. It makes Peter think that MJ remembers Peter when technically she doesn't. So yeah, I honestly, when MJ started remembering things, I was like, oh my gosh, we're about to have like a incursion or something, because this should not technically be happening. Like, the spell should be holding in place, have people forget about it and stuff. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. Keep yawning. I don't mean to yawn. So interestingly enough, Jean Grey goes to the Department of Damage Control HQ, and the boss or the main villain at that site, he is, I forget the character's name from the Marvel's comics, but I'm positive that's who he's supposed to be. Basically, he's all anti-mutant and advanced beings, being mutants and stuff, or people with special abilities. So I am curious to see what happens. Mainly being, we see that there was something called G-Max, which before we get to G-Max, Jean Grey's literally saying to the evil villain of Damage Corps, where is she? Where is she? Because she got inside his head for a second. And it turns out that she has a sister, and that sister was killed by the villain. And ladies and gentlemen, correct me if I'm wrong, but in the comics, Jean Grey never had a sister. Like, I don't remember reading anything or seeing anything about her having a sister. But it was honestly interesting. Like, yeah, they immediately killed off her other sister, but they also showed the Omega level powers of Jean Grey before the Phoenix. And I honestly think this is before Phoenix Force got into her, but it showed how powerful she is. And I'm curious to see how it turns out for Doomsday and see how people react to that. Um, so I have some thoughts on Hulk and stuff. I love seeing Hulk back on the main screen. I mean, like rage-inducing Hulk, smashing everything. Um, it was great seeing him, and it felt like he needed a little more. I feel like we needed a little more screen time with Banner and stuff. Like it felt like certain parts of that were a little cut at certain points. Like maybe there's some deleted scenes or something, maybe. But we shall find out, ladies and gentlemen, in future once it comes out. Maybe who knows? I know I'm not giving a full breakdown, but I'm just giving my thoughts and all. So hopefully you guys would like this. I should do a better one next time because right now I'm literally going off thoughts in my head and my head's still reeling from the movie. Like I probably should have gone and rewatched again. So, yep. Um anyways, ladies and gentlemen, um the final thing from the movie was the reunion. Well, hold on a sec. Before the end, MJ knows that Peter Parker is Spider Man, and she's upset that he hid the truth from her of they used to have a life and all. And there's a scene where they're like, oh, um, where Jean Grey's in Peter's head, and it looks like it's a scene of Peter's aunts talking with both of them and stuff, and then Peter's talking with Jean and all. Then Jean gets on a bus, and later on we see that she's going off, and I wonder if she's going off to find Professor Xavier or someone, or maybe another mutant. But who knows? Who knows, ladies and gentlemen? But at the end, it seemed like both MJ and Peter were trying to rebuild something potentially, and MJ did leak Spider's first name to Ned, and Ned's like, Spider Man's name is Peter, and it was honestly, I was like, oh no, we gotta It's like, is that going to cause an incursion or something? Like, it was interesting. And finally, a couple other things to cover. So after, so when Jean Grey's powers expanding, Frank is on top of this one building with a sniper rifle and shoots. While Peter senses the bullet, twists and protects Jean Grey from the bullet, but ends up getting shot and he's rushed off to hospital. Um, and honestly, if I forget what, yeah, it felt like a Tobey Maguire movie where he's trying to stop the runaway train and his mask comes off and he's surfing on the bodies of people and they're like, we don't know who you are, even though they did and stuff. Like that was cool. And then Frank Castle puts on the Spider-Man mask. That was funny as sin, and he's like, "Raw!" and stuff to the crowd outside while Peter escapes because he's not sure how he's going to get away and all. Like it was a really funny scene. I was cracking up, and there were a lot of funny scenes throughout the movie. I was cracking up at. So, yeah. Now one last thing to cover, ladies and gentlemen. So the post-credit scene showed the Spider-Man tracker that Ned created, and it's like new location, and it showed Spider-Man going from Earth to outer space, and I'm like, okay, is he going into Doomsday or something? Like, I'm curious what happens. Like, we're going to have to find out what happens, ladies and gentlemen. So, Yeah, stick around and find out. All right, I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace out.